Hi, I'm Ricardo Osmondo Francis, and welcome to The Black Iconic, here at Riverfront Art Gallery in Yonkers, New York, at the Yonkers Public Library.
Why this the main piece?
So this painting is called Daughters of the Revolution, and I'm trying to remember actually. I started it specifically for an exhibition I did in Atlantic Highlands, and sometime last year, and it was around the time Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away. It was around the time all of that happened, and I just wanted to do a painting of two Black women in basically regal attire. And what ended up happening is that this one that's seated was in more sort of colonial European dress, and the one on the left was in more what looks like either West African or Caribbean dress, but they were both in white. And the one on the left actually was wearing gloves. She's like one's a fashion model, which was the one on this side, and this one is just a regular, it was like a selfie by someone I saw online. But they both had up hairdos. So I love to juxtapose people or symbols or things in my work. So I automatically saw these two women together, and I just sort of really explored what was possible here. This painting ended up really becoming, I believe, a question of who's in authority, about government, about a woman's place in the world, and also where Black women are in the world and their contributions, both socially, politically, and just in the world stage. So the painting goes a bit further than just, I believe, social concerns. It's just about where is a Black woman's place in the world, period.
Now, was that different growing up in Texas?
Mm-hmm.
And here you are today, 2023. Mm-hmm. The messages, was it different in terms of being creative than how it was when you were growing up, and how you perceived to you wanting to express social change or social art?
It's interesting. I don't think about time very much. I feel like a lot of my social concerns were even happening then. I just feel like now I've had many years to really develop a language visually in which to develop and work from. And now it's just sort of like second nature in which how I approach subjects. I hate, to be honest, to approach things literally, because I don't think that allows people the space in which to approach the work. If I worked literally, then the work would be too easy to categorize, and then that makes it uninteresting. But I love to work from allegory. I love to work from mythology. If you look at any mythology around the world, whether it's Roman or Greek or Indian or Native American, or from parts of South or Central America, or from West Africa, there are moral tales that most of which all fall along the lines with each other in terms of what's right and what's wrong, and the fate of human beings when they make either good or bad decisions. So I like to work from that more so than anything.
So where does this start in history for you? Does it start on the beginnings? Does it start in the middle, or coming more to the evolvement?
I like working from the past more, because I feel like the past is the future. We human beings are, unfortunately, we tend to never learn. We tend to do things that we did many years ago or millennia ago. We're still doing it now. So I tend to like to kind of think I work in a timeless way, but in terms of my sense of thinking about time, I would rather draw from the past rather than what's happening in the present or think about the future.
This is beautiful work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you get shy when people tell you about your work, how beautiful it is?
So thinking of it in that way allows me the freedom in which to approach it. And once an idea is there, the rest just sort of all falls into place.
Well, this is definitely worth your focus art right here. After these commercial breaks, we'll look at your other work, and I thank you so much for the opportunity to even be here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, boss. Okay.
I said I'm fine.
Put me to bed, see you in the morning. With the frosted Superman, but it wasn't on it. And we lost it.
You can talk to me.
It's been really, really hard for me.
In the society that we were brought up in, it's very hard on little black boys. You have to navigate feelings and emotions so the world don't get you.
Sometimes when I cry, I won't know how I'm feeling or why I'm crying.
I just grew up never feeling like it was okay to cry.
Yeah.
And so he really forced me to have to reconnect with the kid that didn't get to cry.
That's beautiful.
We don't cry, we gon' take our piece of the
So when you hear the name George Floyd, how does that relate to your work?
So when what happened with him, I knew immediately artistically there was going to be a lot of artists creating work, whether it's in the visual arts, musically, dance, poetry, whatnot. I knew that America was, or just, in fact, he became an international symbol of what needed to be changed with the abhorrent action of just the slaying of especially black men in this country by the hands of the police. I think also what's happening with Tyree Nichols is very sad and just a really unfortunate, because the fact that it's our own doing that says a lot as well. And when it came to George, I immediately did not want to do something to where there was any violence shown. And in fact, I thought of Grant Wood's American Gothic, the painting of the farmer with his wife, and I think he's holding a pitchfork or something like that. And I saw that painting at the Art Institute of Chicago many decades ago. And I immediately said, I want George Floyd to be like the Grant Wood painting with his widow, Roxanne, and their daughter, Gianna. And that's what I got. And the painting itself happened very quickly. What really held it for a long time was really the background more so than anything else. Them as a family unit was the essential concept of the painting. I wanted to show, if anything, some level of tenderness in that Black people are capable of that. I think oftentimes, especially I'm a Generation Xer, if that's such a thing anymore, that, you know, the thing of feelings, I'm not sure in our generation how feelings were really seen, especially for men. It's one of those things in which we were exploring it. It's not like we shied away from the conversation of it, but I felt like those conversations were more private and you only really were vulnerable around those you were very close to. But in terms of the general sense, the world stage, no. It's one of those things in which, especially being a Black man, being vulnerable was, again, it's only for certain eyes and not all. So for me, what's interesting about this piece is a few things happened that really helped to set it, for me, set it to become I would say, a complete statement. The phrase, "the truth is the light and the light is the truth," is from Ralph Ellison's The Invisible Man, the fiction novel he wrote in the 1960s about Black identity, Black male identity at that. And writing 846 on George's t-shirt, because I was struggling to really finish the painting in the very end. And all of the elements were there. The background made sense. All of the figures made sense. Everything was where it needed to be in terms of balance. But I was like, it's missing something. And it took 3 days to just figure out that the painting needed 846 to end it. And once that was there, I think I popped a bottle of champagne and was able to relax. But not trying to make fun of a very serious painting. But for me, again, the painting is about memory. It's about making sure you don't forget who this person was or is, what he symbolizes, and also who is left behind as well. So that was really important to me. And talking about George Floyd.
How have Black men responded to this painting?
What's interesting to me is that everyone that has seen it, their response was, I was happy to see him with his family. And that's something that I didn't really think about. I mean, I thought about it because it just seemed like the right thing to do. But I didn't think anyone would necessarily think too much about it when they look at the paintings. But at the same time, I never know how people will react. So people's reactions to things are always a surprise to me. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is a very significant piece for me. It took on a very scary moment in our country. And I feel like I was able to approach it in a way that it felt right.
Welcome to Cultured Variety Show. I'm Cecily Davis, and I will be talking to you all today about mental wellness tips for MMA boxers, those that are athletes, as well as those that are interested in exercising and going to the gym. Firstly, sports and exercising helps you with endorphins to chemically balance you, makes you a happier person. Secondly, it helps with social benefits, meeting new people, working effectively in environments with others. It will also help your children and build discipline in them. Hope that helps you and that you guys take these tips into consideration. Remember that mental health is wealth, and I look forward to seeing you all on Cultured Variety this summer. Don't forget to follow me, Ceceline_Davis on Instagram, Ceceline Davis on YouTube, as well as the Stereo app.
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Thanks for hearing me out, bro.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
Well, I definitely get the feeling here that there's a lot of culture. I can feel it from each painting. How does culture strike you when you're actually developing the idea of your next painting?
Okay, so I usually people are kind of confuse culturally what I am. So I'm African American and Panamanian. My father's from Panama, and my mother's from America, from Chicago specifically. And I grew up in Houston, Texas, of all places. And I feel for me, in terms of what informs the work visually, is really a keen interest in Latin American art, and also work from, I would say, India and West Africa, and also European painting as well. And I grew up with that being taught to me in school and as well in art school. So you have a mix of all of those things going all at the same time. And also just advertising, and being here in America, advertising is now become very multicultural. But whereas when I was much younger, it was very much white people, black people, sometimes Latinos, sometimes Asians, sometimes the other people. So it's just been very interesting to see how this country has become more aware that others, or we all live under the sun.
Is this a reflection of you or more others from your perspective?
Believe it or not, so the gentleman in this painting is a guy I dated, who was a great muse at the time for me. And it just was a simple pose of him with a cigarette, and ended up becoming a portrait of St. John the Baptist. Why St. John the Baptist? Not really sure. I'm still, with a lot of my work, figuring out what exactly they mean. And oftentimes people, when they see my work, they know more about what the painting is than I do. I find me knowing exactly what I'm doing it will cause the painting to not be able to speak to the public the way it needs to. So I try to know very little about what I'm making. I do have general ideas. I'm inspired by things, but to say this is this and that is that just rarely ever happens.
How does support play a role in the process? So you were dating him, mm-hmm. You're an artist, abstract, different. How does support play a role in your process of developing painting?
So oddly enough, people that oftentimes post for me, even if they don't have an idea what the art world is, I explain to them what that is like. And half the time there's concern, and then the other half is like, well, they won't know who it really is, so it doesn't matter. So that tends to be the reaction. But I think it depends on the person. I find I'm more inspired off of just everyday people, more so than anything else. And there's for me, a raw energy that's there that helps to really inform what I should and need to do with the work conceptually.
When is that final determination? When is it's done? The painting is done. How does that work? I can only imagine just continually painting and that's it.
When my eyes doesn't stop at one part of the painting anymore, when I could just look around the whole thing and it feels finished. And even then I'll nitpick over something, but it's oftentimes when I could just look at the painting and not land my eye on one particular area where I feel like there's a problem.
Okay.
So what I do is all about balance. It really is.
Is it an emotional ride?
Yes, but not in the dramatic sense as what you would see on TV. Because I think when people think of the tortured genius and this and the other, I don't ever approach painting or drawing or art making in that way. For me, it's you get like a burst of energy or a chill or something happens physically and you just know either something is wrong or something is right. So that's how it is for me. If that makes any sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense, because to me, I use the word abstract, so the process is abstract. It's just more along the lines of how you put it together. Yeah. How hard is that? Your time management with the painting?
Oh, they control the timing of things. There are deadlines. Like for this show, I knew, like Haifa gave me a deadline that I had to meet. I mean, if she didn't give me that deadline, I would have still been working on quite a few of these pieces. But I think deadlines are good for me because they allow me to really hunker down and really work quicker. Because on just one painting, it could take, some of them are taken a couple of years to finish, whereas some may have taken 4 or 5 days. So it's hard to determine how that goes and how that works. It all depends on the piece itself.
Oh, well, yeah. Speaking of deadlines, it's a good segue to a commercial break. And when we come back, we'll be looking more at your work, Ricardo. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How you holding up? Nothing wrong with getting help.
If I promise to look into it, will you drop it and help me build this fence?
Now you need my help.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
So this painting is titled The Baptism, Leo and Christian, Golden Creatures of Light, Golden Creatures of Night. And so Leo here was my mentor, and he actually, I knew him for 15 years. He passed away in 2021 of cancer. And he really changed my life. He was at first like a art teacher, so I unofficially had grad school through him for many years. And he supported my work. He was the director of Varieti Arts when he was alive, and this is his partner, Christian who was, for me, it was a beautiful love story, and they were together for 42 years. So when Leo passed away, I knew I wanted to make a tribute painting to him. What it was going to look like, did not know. And eventually, I think I looked somewhere online at a baptism painting of St. John. There's St. John the Baptist again. St. John the Baptist baptizing Jesus. And I was like, okay, that's the concept. But I wanted to make my own version of what that would be. So we have the skull, which oftentimes is in a lot of my work. And the skull is not really a morbid, it's not about death or morbidity, it's just about the passing of time. I think of the skull as really just, we come, we go. Some people believe we're only here once, some people believe we come many times. I like the idea of reincarnation because I don't believe energy really just fully dies. We just come back as something else. Water for me is occasionally in the work, and I think for here, it was a way for me to deal with grief and to understand what happened. And there's elements of Leo's life that's here, but it's still a painting that, when I look at it, still intriguing. I still can look at it from a fresh set of eyes and perspective. But it also, even if someone just comes to it and doesn't even know who the people are here, I feel like anyone can gain something by seeing it and understand that there is a deep connection to who these two individuals are together. I think most people know that they're connected in some capacity.
How did you capture time in this painting?
Time. I don't think I did.
Okay.
I think, and something Leo always said is that time is a man-made thing, but in spirituality, time doesn't exist. So that's something that I don't ever really think about very much when I make my work. I think when you talk about time, and especially with painting the figure, this is a reason why I don't like to deal with the present and I don't like to deal with the future. I tend to like to deal with the past because it allows for everybody to see the work in the present and or the future, if that makes any sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
So time is irrelevant to me, I think. I would rather be inspired off of something that already happened, and then let the process of making it, of the piece, determine what it needs to be visually.
If there's a message, one message out of this particular painting, what would that be?
Humanity and loving and understanding each other. And not on some soppy romantic kind of thing, but more on a human level. You know, one of the things that I think is quite beautiful, and when people get married, is till death do us part, in sickness and in health and whatnot. And one thing I realized with both Christian and Leo is there was a lot of sickness with Leo, especially in the last, I would say, 5 years of his life. And also being part-time a caretaker for him, it was difficult to see him in some of the situations that he was in and being in and out of the hospital, but the love that both Christian and Leo had together and the understanding of each other, that was really inspiring to see. I think what people see on TV or they see in the media of what love is oftentimes a lie. It's a fabrication. Real love is loyalty and being with the person through both ins and outs of a relationship, and even when things are bad or even when things are great. So.
I first met Ricardo Osmondo Francis about 2 years ago, and I was so just impacted by his work. It was really an emotional response that I felt with your work, and we've had many conversations since then, but Ricardo really kind of prepared for having a solo show and absolutely deserved a solo show.